Well, good morning, everybody, and a very warm welcome to our March meeting. I can't believe we're in March already. The sun is actually shining, so that's good. I'm sure it really is where I am, just a little bit, and I'm holding on to that small amount. Richard's laughing at me. It's obviously not in Cornwall then. So just to give a brief overview of what we're going to be doing today in today's meeting, we're very pleased to be joined by Chaz Singh, who is come to talk to us from the ARA Gambling Services. So he's going to spend a bit of time in a minute just introducing himself and what they've been doing. Ian is going to give a comprehensive update of all the latest Food Collective activities and what's been going on that we've been working on in the background. Quick update from me. I've been working with Jackie from A Doddle. I know a lot of you have now spoken to her online and seen her offline as well and had conversations and input into the map. On the 18th of April, which actually happens to be our next meeting, we're going to have Jackie's going to come down to Plymouth and spend about 4 or 5 hours down here. And that's a really good opportunity. So I'm giving you as much notice as possible so you can come along and meet her in person. We're going to have the PFAN meeting there as well. So it'll be an in-person, a hybrid meeting, an in-person and an online one as well. So it'd be lovely if as many of you could come. We're just trying to decide a venue. If any of you have got an easy venue that we could potentially borrow a room for a few hours, that's quite easy for everybody to get to, that'd be really helpful. And it's a really good opportunity for you to bring your tablets or a laptop or anything and just have a little bit of one-to-one time with Jackie, supporting you of how to get onto your profile and anything you need that you just think, I haven't got time to email, I haven't got anything. It might be worth investing a bit of time into that. Rebecca, you've got your hand up. Did you want to ask a question?
No, just to let you know that I can get a room on campus easily, Tammy, if that's helpful.
Oh, that'd be brilliant. Thank you.
If that's, I mean, the parking's not good, but there's lots of space, which I can book a room.
And IT is good as well, isn't it? So
yes, yeah, the Wi-Fi's good. There's guest Wi-Fi, so just let me know if you want me to do that.
That'd be great. Thank you. So I will have been putting notes in the WhatsApp chat as well, just to remind people. So I'll keep that updated. I had a message from Hilary at the Soup Run just to say, could everybody let her know regarding Easter operating, if anyone's doing an Easter lunch at all on the Sunday, just so they can let some of their service users know. If you could just pop that into the WhatsApp chat, that would be really good, because then everybody can read that. And if there's any changes at all from your operating over the Easter weekend, again, please pop that in there, because then that helps us to just be aware of it, and it's the quickest way to get the message out to everybody. So just briefly before Chaz starts, if you'd like to, what we're going to do is just go around the room and just, if you wouldn't mind introducing yourself and who you are and where you're from, just so Chaz can put some faces to names, that would be lovely. Obviously you all know me, so I'll work from left to right. Rebecca, I'm going to come to you.
Thanks very much, Tammy. I'm Rebecca Castellan. I'm a researcher employed by the university, but working as a researcher in residence at Plymouth City Council, supporting people in the City Council and voluntary community sector organisations to do research and evaluations of their work. And I'm doing some work around food security in the city.
That's great. Thanks, Rebecca. Lindsay.
I'm Lindsay. Chaz knows me. I'm volunteer with the Soup Run.
Thanks, Lindsay. Eve, good morning.
Good morning. I'm Eve. I'm over at Four Greens. I'm not on my computer. I'm not in my room, and I'm actually on holiday, so I'm just sitting in this morning.
Oh, glad you could join us, Eve. Thank you. Richard.
Richard Margetts, Saltash Food Bank. I'm chair there, so just across the water from England. But we have various links to and fro Plymouth, so it's great to be part of this group.
Thanks, Richard. Rachel and Co.
Okay.
Hello, I'm Rachel. I work for Citizens Advice in joint with the Plymouth Food Bank. got Andrew from the Plymouth Food Bank next to me. So
Yeah, morning. I'm Andrew Denham from Plymouth Food Bank, and out of view is our colleague Mark, who's the lead here at Plymouth Food Bank as well.
Oh, brilliant. Lovely that you can all join us. That's great. Andrea, good morning.
Morning. I am
Andrew-
from Village Hub. First one on here, so bear with me.
That's fine. No, it's absolutely fine. Lovely that you can join us. And Ian, I don't want you to be left out, so feel free to just say hello and introduce yourself for those that don't know
Thank you. Great to see you all. So I'm Ian Smith. I'm from Food Plymouth and involved with Tammy on the support for Plymouth Food Aid Network. So great to see you all. It's a great turnout this morning. So great to have Chaz here as well. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Ian. So Chaz, I will hand the floor over to you.
Well, thank you, and thank you to Food Plymouth for the opportunity to be able to come and introduce and raise awareness of this really important subject, which is starting to be more talked about, more conversed, and by doing these sorts of things, it's raising the profile of the organisation and what we actually do right across not only Devon and Cornwall, Bristol, Dorset, and north and west of Wales. So really spread out geographically from the tip of Cornwall right up to the end at Gloucester, etc. So what I'm going to do is just take you through a brief introduction as to who ARA are and what we do. And then I'll sort of like tell you my position here within Plymouth or the Devon region and how you can then send or do referrals to me direct, and then get people to help the counselling and the therapy that they need for their gambling harm. So we're a charity, registered charity, formed way back in 1987. We provide a structured treatment, counselling, housing support, education, training and employment guidance, as well as many other interventions so that we can promote recovery and a healthier life. Now, in Bristol is where we have more of this housing support, education, training and employment. That's where the charity was formed initially. And as we've come through down the Southwest Peninsula, we've first and foremost looked at addressing gambling and gambling related harm. Our only purpose really is to say to everyone that we want to provide them hope and better lives, and that's it. When we talk about statistics and people who come through, last year, well, in the last 5 years, we've had over 40,000 people who've benefited from our services, and just in this year alone, last year alone, 12,000 plus. So that number is increasing year on year. As I said, footprint Southwestern Wales, we cover just under, well, I would say a population of about 8 million people. It's about 12.25% of the population of Great Britain. As an organisation, forward-thinking, fast-moving, and we are, as we say, unapologetic, a values-driven organisation. Our motto really is ABCD. A is aspiring. We are ambitious for clients. We act with purpose. We're motivated and eager for change. We're committed to enterprising solutions and the best possible outcomes. B for brave, confident, courageous in our actions, fearless in finding positive solutions, calling out prejudice. We are excited, vigorous and energetic in helping our beneficiaries achieve better lives. T is competent. We're capable, skilled, accomplished in our service provision, seeking the best, expert, adept and professional in everything we do. We seek excellence in our service provision, actions and outcomes, always seeking to become better. And D is determined, persistent and consistent with our beneficiaries. We are unceasing in passion for learning and growth, relentless in our ambition for sustained, continuous improvements. We are tenacious in our pursuit of better lives and hope for our beneficiaries. So as an organisation, where do we sit on the national scale? We're part of what we call the National Gambling Support Network, and we're the main provider for South West England and Wales. We lead in Bristol, as I said, commissioned drug and alcohol support services, and that's around 140 beds within Bristol. We say what we do and we do what we say. There's a motto our chief executive uses, The day we believe we have it right, it's the day we absolutely fail. So we always believe in continuous improvement. The other things we do, obviously gambling is at the forefront of everything that we underpin our support for. We also provide information, advice and guidance, community engagement, education, training, structured talking therapies and group work. So we have pathways to recovery workshops, supported housing services, criminal justice intervention and resettlement. So we have a criminal justice lead for the Southwest. We also now have an armed forces lead who covers the Southwest region as well. We do peer mentoring, social inclusion, relapse prevention. And some of our staff have lived experience who are part of the organisation. So in terms of talking about statistics, just a little bit of data here. Over 1,300 clients received information, advice and guidance, including talking therapies. Feedback from those around gambling treatment, specifically 100% of clients were satisfied with the service that they received from ARA. We know that it's very complex, it's multiple needs, and that's what we offer. We don't try and say that they're not ready for services or counselling or therapy. We are there prepared to offer that at the very start. There's aftercare, relapse prevention, community engagement, peer support. We'll never walk past anyone and say that that support isn't there. So that's a little bit of a Lamborghini tour really of what we do, and it's quite a lot. But specifically looking at my role here in Plymouth and covering the Devon area, I'm now cleared to work across the 3 prisons. So criminal justice lead is now kicked off. So I'm popping into Channingswood, Dartmoor and Exeter prison. So I'm doing what they call early intervention. And that's really where we can pinpoint people who need that support, even though they're on the inside. We can provide that support when they come on the outside. Now, the other thing I'm doing is working with organisations across the board. So a really good example I did, and I know they've been busy at the same time. I went to have a meeting with Shekinah, and one of the things we look at doing is looking at how people are processed. Sounds a bit organisational, but at the point of entry, when you've got people coming to you and they've got to fill in one of those forms in terms of how you deal with which way you're going to be signposting. When I went to see Shekinah, initially their form just said issues around drug or alcohol. And at that point, I said, well, what about if we were to put something around gambling? So we've got drugs, alcohol and gambling. Lo and behold, as I left the meeting, and about an hour and a half later, the lady in question sent me the form back and she'd already amended their form so that at point of entry, if that person needed help around gambling, then they were going to get support straight away. Now, we know through research, most people won't come forward straight away to say that they've got an issue with gambling, maybe at the 3rd or 4th appointment. However, sometimes the key question can be, do you need any support around gambling or have been affected by someone else's gambling? That's the rule out question we call, where we say, by asking that question, it allows the individual to say, I'm glad that question was asked because I can now ask for that support. So sometimes it's all about the prompt, but it's how you question that. So organisational can happen and it can change the way people then access our services. Everything we do is 100% confidential and it's free. So therapy, counselling, pathways to recovery's workshop, it's all free. I had one organisation who said, we'd work with you, but we're not sure how much you charge. Now, when I told her it's all free, that was it. She wanted to bite my arm off and say, you've got to come tomorrow and do the presentation. So that's really important where people think, I would access therapy or counselling, but I haven't got the funds or the resources to do that. I know there's a massive waiting list on the NHS, and our job, what happens is, and I'll take you through the triage. So those people who have had one of my cards, there's a QR code on there which takes you to a self-referral. So the individual just has to fill it in, submit, and then our counsellors regionally will pick that up and be able to call the individual, set up an initial appointment for an assessment, and then deliver with counselling or therapy thereafter. So it's as easy as that. Or they can send me an email, and I'm sure Tammy will probably send my details out. And if anybody wants to do referral direct to me, I'm more than happy to meet with the individual on a one-to-one, fill in the necessary forms. We do what they call a core 10 and a triage, and this is just information around the person's gambling, how much they're gambling, and other questions around their mental health and well-being, and that's for the benefit of the counsellor. I then upload it to a system that we have called Theseus. Theseus then picks up, I've got access to all the counsellors' calendars, and then I'm able to put them and book them in a slot at the very first instant. So if he said, I'm going to be available in the next three days, then I'd book that hour slot in and then go from there. And that's where we are with that. The other two things I wanted to mention, and I know we've got people from a variety of organisations, is about looking at people who would like to become community connectors. So sounds very elaborate, but it's almost as if you were in an organisation, you may have a diversity rep, LGBTQ plus rep, and a community connector for ARA really is someone who is there specifically to be able to make sure that the issue around gambling is at that table or that organisation. If there's any training or any additional skills an individual needs, we can provide that. More than likely, what we don't want to do is give someone a huge workload and say to them, you're now representing. But it is being a community connector and making sure gambling is at the forefront of everything we do. And you do as a volunteer. And the other one for organisations is what we call a workplace charter. So if you look at the organisations you work for or you volunteer for, you would have gone through an induction policy through your organisation. In there, you would have had a drug and alcohol policy. And what we're asking organisations to do is adopt a workplace charter. So we've been working with a lot of organisations up the line. We've had Cheshire Constabulary signed. We've had Unite, we've had the Unison sign up. We've had a number of organisations and councils, Blackpool Council, Wigan, Wolseley, they've all signed the workplace charter. And I think if you're an organisation that is dealing with issues around drug and alcohol, I think as an additional bonus is that having a workplace charter around gambling would be absolutely beneficial for the organisation. And it makes the organisation feel ready and prepared, say that we've got this in place. So that's where we are at the moment. There are a number of organisations that I'm talking to in regards to workplace charters. I can help you through that whole process. You can have a 10-page document, or you can have a 1-page where new employees, new volunteers are able to turn around and say, do you understand the impact of gambling and gambling related harm? And the idea really is to raise that awareness in the workplace. So that's us as an organisation. I'm happy to take questions, and I know you've got some stuff to do afterwards, so I don't want to hog up all that time. The only last thing I will say, sorry, and is the event You Can Help training, which is a 1-hour training program that I can deliver online or in person. And I've been delivering some of this to organisations in Plymouth. So just to name a few, I've got Salvation Army to do, Plymouth Energy Community Trust, and a number of organisations who are going to be taking that on board. Also working with Citizens Advice, with Palmile, and right across the city. So my job really is to come in and infiltrate the Southwest to let people know that ARA is here and people can signpost to us and get the support and the help that they need. Thank you.
Thanks, Chaz. That's fantastic. Rebecca's just asked a question. Could you just, she missed the beginning, just when you introduce the name of your organisation and what's your website, if you could just say it out and then pop it in the chat, that would be wonderful.
Yeah, so the organisation's called ARA, A-R-A, Action or Addiction Recovery for All. And the website is recovery, and then it's a 4. I will send the link in the chat, for the digit 4 all.co.uk. And just on the after that, sorry, Tammy, there is some really good research around people now. The four main areas that we're looking at specifically: LGBTQ plus, diverse communities, women in particular. There's been a 38% increase in women, only 1% of women getting access to that. And people from armed forces is a key area that we're looking at as well. And the correlation between people accessing food banks and sacrificing money for gambling, slowly that's been put onto the profile and being raised at a national agenda, where people's reliance on food banks and being able to say, well, that's fine, I can stake or gamble my money there, and I've got the food bank as a backup. So whether that's feeding myself or feeding the kids, feeding the family, the almost like the safety net is there for the food bank, but I can still go ahead and carry on gambling regardless, like that. I'll just put my details on there as well.
That's great. Thank you, Chaz. And obviously, as Chaz said, I'll send out the link for all of his details in the recording email that will go out after this anyway. And then you can contact us if you'd like us to do one on behalf of PFAN, an online hour where Chaz comes along and does a training session. We can do that. That's not a problem. Or if you think, you know what, I'd actually like to have one for my own organisation in person, then just let us know. We can make that happen for you as well. Has anyone got any questions?
Just one quick one for me, because we do sort of telephone signposting, volunteers who phone up our clients. I didn't catch all of the phrase that you suggested, Chaz, for asking people if it was an issue. Could you?
So specifically the rule-out question.
Yeah, but yeah.
So the rule-out question, which what we're trying to do is get organisations to take on board, is you or the gambling that you're having, and I will send the specific one to you. The question is really to say and feel confident that what you're saying or what you're asking the individual is that the gambling that you're going through or your partner could be going through, because it's important. We also provide support for the affected other, so not necessarily the person who is doing the gambling, could be the partner, and it is asking them about how much of an impact it's having. So in one of the training slides we talk about the impact and how much impact it's having on those individuals. The important bit is making sure. Oh, I thought there was an echo. The important bit is being able to feel confident that you ask that question, and it's about the impact it's having on them or other individuals, and that's key.
Okay, so it's an open question, really, to give them the opportunity to bring up something they might be reluctant to otherwise.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, sometimes, some people will say, are there any issues around debt?
Yeah.
And then you might have a drop down and it might say, rent arrears. It might say loan sharks. And you could then put in there gambling for your own organisation. Or you could turn around and look at debt, take debt away, say, are there any issues around gambling? So when we work with housing associations, we will say to them quite specifically, the first big chunk of a bill that's going to go will be sacrificed, will be the rent. So people will probably fall into rent arrears far more quicker than if it was, say, drugs or alcohol. But it depends what will take priority for each individual, and every case is different.
Thanks, Chaz. Lots of questions. So Lindsay, can we come to you first?
Yeah, thanks, Chaz. That was really interesting. A couple of thoughts it brought to mind for me. Over 50 years ago, I had a roommate at university who was clearly affected by something, some sort of trauma. I didn't use the word trauma so readily in those years, but she was
Yeah.
traumatized by something. And it turned out that her father had gambled away their home, and it's had a massive impact on her life. And that experience has remained with me. And then many, many years later, I met a young man in a hostel in Plymouth who we could not fathom what his issue, in inverted commas, was. And we didn't have the tools. We didn't have the way of asking the right questions, because drugs and alcohol, of course, were brought up. But he was smartly turned out, articulate, had an amazing career, some of it a fantasy, but some of it real. And it took a very, very long time to delve into his issues and discover that gambling was at the heart of it. And I think a lot of pain would have been avoided and a lot of time saved by having a sensitive way of exploring that with him. So thanks for raising it.
Yeah, and I think also the area around homelessness and gambling. So I'm doing some work with Bristol University at the moment, and they've got the Bristol Poverty Institution. I spoke at an event that they had in February this year, and then I'm going back up again in June, July, working with researchers and academics. Bringing in that research that's already out there around homelessness and gambling, and then also around diverse communities. So and this works right across, but I think exactly what you're saying, Lindsay, that the stigma attached and surrounded by the shame as well because of gambling. Because when you do speak to people who gamble, they'll always talk about the big wins. Oh, I won 1,000, won 2,000, 3,000. Nobody ever turns around and says, I just lost £30,000 to try and recoup £2,000. So there'll always be that thing around what we call the big wins. Nobody will ever relate to the losses that they've had to incur to look at addressing those big wins. So tackling the stigma and the shame is one of those things. And by doing these, it's about raising the awareness. And as my line manager would say, that we have to have a sense of normalization around bringing the word gambling to the table. Because what can be, we're not going around and preaching to people to say, stop gambling, full stop. There's an element of being able to turn around and say, there's a point when there's gambling, and then there's a point where you're going into harmful gambling. And when you're at the stage of harmful gambling, that's when you need that early intervention, support, advice, and guidance like that.
Thank you.
That's great. Thanks, Chaz. Ian, you had your hand up.
Thank you. Yeah, so Chaz, with regard to, I was thinking of Devon and Cornwall here as well, with colleagues in Sustainable Food Cornwall and the food insecurity work they do, and also looking to Devon, to the Devon Food Insecurity Group.
Yeah.
Have you and your colleagues got links out into those, or is there anything we can do to help you link up to those organisations?
Yeah, I mean, I think first and foremost, and especially when we're looking at, food bank reliability around people, when we may get people who turn around and say, well, I'm looking for support in other areas. So absolutely 100%, if we can get into those organisations, and I use that word politely, for me to come in and infiltrate the whole of the Southwest is my key priority, to let everybody know exactly who we are and what we do and provide that support. I do have a counterpart in Cornwall, Lindsay Taylor. So if there are organisations within Cornwall, I can signpost to Lindsay, and Lindsay will do the equivalent of what I do in Devon. So we've already got a person in place there.
Right. Okay. We've got a catch up coming up with colleagues in the wider Devon Food Partnership and the Cornwall Food Partnership. I'll mention your services to them, and see what levels of recognition I get. And then if there's anything we can do, if you don't mind, I'll pass on your details, which I know
of
you've
course,
done
yeah,
there, to facilitate that and get
yeah.
the ball rolling.
If not, I'll also send Tammy Lindsay's email, because Lindsay's working within Liscard. She's at the job centre. She also goes into Armed Forces veterans drop-ins. So she's working across the Cornwall area as well.
Even better. Thank you very much indeed. Fantastic.
Okay.
Thank you. Yeah.
That's great. Thanks, Chaz. Rachel, had a question?
Yeah, it's from me, Mark.
Oh, hi, Mark.
Hi, Mark.
Hi, how are you doing?
Not too bad, not too bad.
Good. First of all, so you know where I'm coming from, I'm an ex-gambler and I've lost everything. I had the big wins, but I had more losses than I ever had wins, and it cost me everything: careers, marriages, property, the lot. But what I really want to get over and I want to understand is, from a food bank point of view, the links you've got with food banks already, are you saying that at point of entry, when the client comes through the door, that they're now being asked a question concerning their financial situation, or is there a possible problem with gambling or within the family that's led them there? Because you talked about people gambling and knowing they've got the food bank to fall back on. I'm not sure someone who's gambling, and certainly my experience of myself, would never be, well, I'm okay if I lose because I got a food bank, or I'm okay if I lose because I got a nice neighbour, because I never thought I was going to lose, and there was always tomorrow to win anyhow. So I'm not sure that's in a gambler's psyche, to be perfectly honest. But I'm interested in the link you have with food banks.
Yeah, so what we're doing at the moment is there's research out there where there is a reliance on people who are gambling and using food banks. The research is out there. At the point of entry, I'm not saying that all the food banks should be asking that question straight away. The example that I gave was Shekinah. So when people are going to them for support, and then being able to signpost. So when they say, where are the issues? Drugs, alcohol, and then gambling. So then they're able to turn around and put our name or our organisation, say that if you've got issues around gambling, then you need to speak to ARA. If there's issues around rent arrears, that whole area around debt becomes multiple choices, where if it is rent arrears, if it is gambling, if it is loan sharks, it could be a number of things that could be those issues. So we know that there is a link between loan sharks and gambling. So people have used the loan shark to go and get money and go and gamble.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So the thing around, the food banks, and where people at the point are sort of looking at that and using it as reliance, especially if you've got, kids, partner, and it could be, the whole scenarios, when you start looking at some of the scenarios that we've encountered, where the partner is gambling, the other partner's left to pick up the pieces. That money's been sacrificed. The other partner's going to the food bank to use that, and that's been relied upon. Every situation that we've come across has been different. And I'm happy to send you some links between, because the guy who is a person who's dealing with homelessness and gambling related harms, he's based in Bristol, and the work we're doing with Bristol Poverty Institute, more than happy to send some links to you if you want. You've got my email there, and I can send that over to you. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
But I mean, if at the point where we've got food banks that are based around the city, and even if it is, whether we've got posters up, QR codes, even if it's an opportunity where we can raise that awareness, because there is, we know the shame and the stigma is huge. People will not say at, the first opportunity, they're not going to come in and say, we've got a problem. Like within the prison system, we know that there's illegal gambling that's going on. And as one person said, if I've got drugs in my cell, or if I've got alcohol in my cell, I can get fined or reprimanded. However, if I'm gambling illegally, sometimes the prison officers will sort of like ask, "Are you winning? Are you on the up? Everything is good?" You know, so it's that normalized thing where people think, "Well, it's gambling, isn't it?" You know, it's how it's socially acceptable. You know, it's the norm, and by having these conversations, we're sort of raising that awareness where people will feel comfortable in saying that I do. And you know, and thank you for you saying what you said. I mean, I've been to many events, and you know, gambling affects everybody. The impact it has on not only your own lives, people around you. You know, like you said, it can cost you your family, your marriage. It wrecks lives. It does everything that drugs and alcohol can do as a collective. But by people reaching out and saying we're going to talk about gambling, that's the key thing. You know, we've got to get it to a table where, you know, if you look at where drugs and alcohol is, it's the almost like two standard entries on application forms. You know, whatever you're looking for, whether it's support, whether it's work, and what have you. And now we're at the stage where, you know, gambling has to sit at that table as well. It has to be the one of three. Yeah. But thank you.
No, we'll be in touch.
Yeah, definitely.
Thank you. Wow. Thank you, Chaz. It's been so informative. I think everyone will agree on that. And hopefully those that are watching on the recording, you've taken a lot from this. And as we said, we'll send everything out for everybody so you can get into direct contact with Chaz.
Yeah.
So thank you. That's really kind. You are more
No
than welcome
problem.
to stay. Would you like to stay and listen to the rest of the update?
I don't mind. Yeah, that would be really good. The other thing, I know Mark sort of, you know, disclosed that, and is he happy for that to go out in the recording? I'm just sort of like thinking about Mark.
Yes, I was going to contact Mark. So
right, okay.
No, that's
All right.
absolutely
No,
fine.
thank you, and happy to stick around.
thank you.
Thank you.
Ian, we'll come over to you for the updates from you, if that's all right.
Okay, there's quite a lot, but I'll do it as quickly without rushing as I can. So it'd be great to hear updates from yourselves as well. So yeah, thank you, Chaz. That was exceptional. And thank you, Mark, as well. It's remarkable, this thing about lived and living experience. It's so valuable. It's invaluable. So the update really from this is, let's start with the Household Support Fund. So many of you'd be aware that another 6 months of that has been granted by the government following quite a lot of advocacy from people in our field. And immediately that's turned into, and we were asking for a minimum of a year. So thank you for the 6 months, but what about another 6 months and maybe some more? So that Bernardo's have come to the fore again on that, so which is really good. So activities are going on to try and persuade that. In the case of yourselves, that's tended to be more of an indirect benefit in the last 12 months in terms of grants not going out to you as organizations, but lots of other support and other measures around all that. So it would be great to have more resource to be able to provide even more of that. So keep you posted on that, but anything you can do to persuade MPs and others that the Household Support Fund is a good thing, then please do so. That would be massively helpful. I was going to say the mapping piece that you've been working on together with Tammy and Jackie from A Doddle there. I think it's an exceptional piece of work going on there. It was so helpful last time when Jackie was here and Paul from Keen Green Places was asking sort of specific advice and such. So thanks for all of the work that everyone's doing on that, particularly Tammy and Jackie facilitating it. And just please engage with that to the maximum effect, because the better that map is, everyone wins by that. So yeah, congratulations to everyone on that, I would say. On the cash first and worrying about money front, which is so important and, you know, has been touched on in this session already today. So Emma Greenwood, Emma Osterberg and Sabine Goodwin there from the Trussell Trust and Independent Food Aid Network, IFAN, have been re-engaging quite a lot recently. They went a bit quiet with everything else that was going on, but so they're re-engaging on several fronts. And they are asking about the cash first, worrying about money leaflet, If you have any more updates to go on there, then please let them know. Tammy, I don't know if you'd be kind enough to send the link out with the follow-up bulletin to this recording. And if you can take a few minutes and, follow the link, have a look down and see if anything's missing. And the interesting thing is, we had a really interesting conversation with Keam Green Places wanting the uniform store to appear on it because they thought that would be a good thing, and it was a good idea. So it didn't go on the worrying about money leaflet because they're making it specifically on that. But what happened then was it went on to the A-Doddle map, the PFAN A-Doddle map. So it's there as a resource. So, so anything like that, any good ideas, please bring them forward, and we'll, one way or the other, we'll do what we can to make good, useful information available. So that would be good. On the food collective, the Plymouth Food Security Collective, which, as you know, Mark Rolls has spoken to you about a couple of times now. So it is going at sort of light speed, the speed of light, that whole project. It's dazzling. There is a new role that's been advertised, which some of you kindly spread the information about. A new role for a partnerships funding and operations manager. And the interviews are coming up for that shortly. And I think if and when that's a successful, if we got the right candidates and it gets filled, that's going to take that on in leaps and bounds. So again, information on that to follow. And I hope that Mark will come along and speak about it and bring you an update himself reasonably soon on that. I'm very, very pleased that there's a really good collaboration with FareShare going on around this. It's so important that the two work hand in hand, hand in glove, whatever phrase you want to use for that, in collaboration. So delighted that is going on as well as it is. As part of that, there's some mapping going on to make sure we've got all the information that is useful to have, helpful to have, particularly around the emergency end of the food support system. So basically Ella, who many of you have met before and will remember from previous times, Ella Roskowska, is helping with that. And she's been in contact with a number of you, I know, to gather certain information to help. And that will help both the collective and also the transition from aid to access as well that Ella's gathering there. So thank you for those of you that have engaged and helped so far, and thanks in anticipation for those of you that will do in future when Ella makes contact with you. And if you haven't heard in the next few days from Ella and you think you're on the emergency end of things, please let us know, and we'll make sure that that we harvest the information from you to everyone's benefit. And following that, Ella will move on to more the resilience end, the more support end of things. But it's the emergency end we're particularly interested in at the moment for obvious reasons. And it's really
Ian, I just interrupt. Ella's just entered the building.
Oh, Ella's here. Great. I know she was hoping to come.
Hello,
do you want to say anything about that, Ella, while you're here?
I'm ever so sorry to just be jumping in for a few minutes. I'm kind of dealing with something at home, but I wanted to come in and just say hello. And I'm not sure what is the conversation about at the moment.
Okay.
You wanna
No,
fill
I
me in?
was just updating the meeting and the people watching the recording, Ella, on the work you're doing around the emergency end and harvesting the information that will be helpful to the Food Security Collective, but also helpful to the Aid to Alliance transition as well. And saying that you've been in contact with some people who I'm not sure people on the call you've been in contact with yet, but I know some people watching the recording you've already spoken to, haven't you? So so that was it really. I was just bringing people up to speed with that really.
Yes. So so I will be contacting more people in the days to come, because we're gathering the information about the situation regarding how much food our food aid providers have to buy in on top of what they get from FareShare, and how much money they spend. So far, people are very happy to share the information, and it's just showing the scale of the problem in Plymouth, really. So I do appreciate all your help and cooperation in this.
Yeah.
And I hope everyone's okay.
It's great. And I think it is interesting because the PFAN database, which Tammy's very kindly supplied to Ella and myself to do this, you know, it stretches out down to Liskeard and stretches up to Tavistock and across to Ivy Bridge. So it'll be very interesting to see the information of those within the City of Plymouth boundary side of things to the ones on the edge, and that is really interesting information for the collective to have in particular in terms of the scale and the costs of it. Because I know some of you in the past have cited the amount of money you're spending on buying food, very often from supermarkets, to top up your supplies, and if the collective can help with that, it will certainly be a great thing. So thank you, Ellen. It's great you could come, even if it's for a few minutes. And of course, the other side of the food collective, the third strand of it, there's the emergency is the first strand, which we're focusing on very much at the moment. The resilience, you know, of the less intense but still very necessary food support there is the second strand. And the third strand, of course, is the education and learning side. And Chaz has been inputting on that big time today. Tammy's going to be very involved on that with her Food is Fun head on with the education and learning side of things there that Food is Fun do. So that's going to be a great thing. So so again, we'll keep you posted, and I hope that Mark will come and run that through, you know, first-hand account, because he's really deep. I'm pretty involved, but he's right at the heart of it, so that'll be good. And on the PFAN future, then the sort of Plymouth Food Aid Network transitioning across to becoming a food access network. Some very good news there. Plymouth City Council have asked Tammy and myself, with some particular support from Ella in certain areas, to carry on for another 12 months, which is really nice in terms of providing the support we've provided for several years now. And it's been a great privilege and pleasure to work with you on that. So, so we're looking forward to that. And what you might like to do is, if you recall, when Tammy and I sort of took this on and started taking it forward after there were changes, we consulted with you on the format. We said, what would you like? How would you like the meetings that were already happening to go, frequency, content, etc. I mean, we've done what you asked for. We're doing them monthly. We're having high quality guest speakers. We had, you know, in evidence, you know, for the last however long, and very evident again today. You know, it's really relevant to your work. So if you've got any thoughts on that, saying, oh, we'd like, I don't know, slightly different something, or we'd like more face to face, or we'd like this, we'd like the other, please let us know, and then we'll try where we can. We'll try and accommodate that and work with you to do it. And I think the other part about this transition piece, you might recall a long time ago now, we had Social Change Agency involved to start consulting with you, which you approved their engagement when they came and spoke with you. Social Change Agency, the SCA, around really what the future might look like for you going forward. Now, a lot of things have happened since then, with the emergence of the collective and the emergence of the cooperative connections and all the cooperative side of things. But unless anyone wants something very, very different, I'd like to re-engage with them and ask them to re-engage with you to actually start developing that, saying, right, you've got that now, you're going to have that. The future's looking like this. What's the way forward? So if you've got any thoughts on that, please let me know offline, and we can have a bigger conversation about it, but not right now because we're running out of time. So yeah, I hope that's helpful to you as an update. One final thing to mention, and I know Rachel very often looks at these recordings, so but I just wanted to mention that Rachel Silcock is retiring, and Rachel has been massively, from Plymouth City Council commissioning there and public health. Rachel's been so very, very helpful. She's been absolutely instrumental, very often behind the scenes. You don't see it very often, but she's been absolutely extraordinarily influential and positively helpful, and all those good things in the background for the past several years. And so I just wanted to mention that to you. And if you have any thanks or anything you'd like to convey to her, again, please let us know, and we'll compile a list of that to convey to her. and we'll have a think if there's anything else we might do as well to thank her for her amazing work and efforts. So yeah, that's it from that. Are there any questions about any of that, please?
No, I don't think so.
Great, I'll go quiet then. I'll mute myself. Thank you. Thanks for listening as well. Thank you.
Thanks, Ian. That's brilliant. We do have 5 minutes, so it'd be lovely just to have a very quick update from you all, just to let us know how things are going in your worlds. So, Richard, could I come to you?
Right, no, nothing very particular to report. I mean, steady demand. Not having to buy very much in, just a few items when you run low. The other day I was tasked to go and get 20 containers of fruit juice, for example. Just filling in a few gaps, but overall our input is matching our output pretty well. No real change in the demographics. It's still quite a lot of people in work as well as out of work coming through. So and we're using, everybody gets the leaflets, the money, worrying about money leaflets, loan shark leaflets, all the standard ones go out to everybody, and then we still follow up with a volunteer phone call shortly afterwards to say, to see if there's anything we can signpost them to. So we can add the ARA now to our database for that, which is good.
That's great. Thanks, Richard. Rachel, Andrew, Mark, how are things going down with you?
So we continue to see incredibly high demand, as I'm sure you appreciate. We have seen a trend, certainly last month in February, where predominantly factoring in the cost of living payment, which was made obviously last month, where we did see quite a significant decrease in the number of people seeking support through us. But that's now all ended, and we're back to supporting in the region of about just under 3,000 meals a week. Obviously, we rely completely on financial and food donation. Financial donation remains quite stable, which we're really pleased about. Physical food donation, we're still down about 82% of where we were this time last year. As far as purchasing food to support the difference, we're still spending in the region of about £3,000 to £3,500 a week to make sure we got sufficient food in to cater for the demand we're seeing.
Thanks, Andrew. Anything from you, Rachel?
No, not really. The only thing I was going to say was the gambling thing was really helpful. And it is something that Citizens Advice are using. It's something that I use as well. It's not something that I ask clients when they come through the food bank doors about, because it's a personal question and probably wouldn't be appropriate, just like drugs and alcohol. But if they do come and see me long term in private spaces, it is something we ask. So yeah, people who come into the food bank and see me do get asked that question. But yeah, nothing else really. You got anything?
No, I'm good.
Thank you.
Thank you. Lindsay?
Yeah, very much business as usual, except that we're looking forward to getting into the new Shekinah building so that our weekend operations can be sort of back to normal. We're in a bit of a holding pattern with that at the moment. A couple of other things. Last week I was at the Homeless Health Conference in London, and a very big issue there was respect for lived experience. So a wave to Mark and for his bravery and the strength that it brings to the message when lived experience is incorporated into it. Another health thing is tomorrow at the Plot, there's a community health event that people need any networking opportunities will be a very good one. It's being organised by the GPs in the area, and lots of health related organisations are going to be there. It's from 10 o'clock till 6 p.m.
No, that's great. Thanks, Lindsay. Yeah, we're going to be popping down for a while, but they're expecting a really big turnout for that event, actually. So yeah, good one to pop in and just talk to other organisations and people as well. Eve, could we come to you? I know you're in holiday mode.
Yes, sorry, I've been holiday mode, excuse me, for quite a while because I'm using up annual leave. So I'm literally just here on a Friday afternoon. So only, as Ian said, Mark hopefully will be able to speak regarding his project, and as regards the gambling stuff, it was great because I've learned something, but I can only put that to the boss.
That's fine, thanks, Lee. Andrea, did you want to say anything about what's going on at the Village Hub, or don't want to put you on the spot as it's your first meeting? Entirely up to you.
No updates today.
Okay, that's fine. Thank you. Rebecca, now I've had the pleasure of coming to one of your recent mapping exercise sessions, which was absolutely fantastic. Do you want to just give a quick brief overview of what you're doing, because it's phenomenal, I will say.
Well, thank you. I'm aware of time, so I'll take 30 seconds. So one of the things I've been doing is running what are called ripple effects mapping workshops, where you look over a timeline of, say, 12 months. You look at the activities you've been involved in and look at the connections and the changes in those working relationships and those links that you develop over time, and then look at the impact in terms of who's impacted and how, and who the key people are in the network that you have. And you kind of keep visiting it and layering it up with detail, and think about, okay, where's the learning here? What's really helpful in terms of our learning to take forward? So I've done it in a number of different contexts. I did it the other day with Stoke Village Hub, which was very different to doing it with the group with you, Tammy. Tammy was involved in the piece of work in Barn around child health and weight. But it's a tool for basically developing projects, but also evaluating as you go along the impact of your work. So if it's something that people are interested in, if they think it might be useful for the work that you're doing, whether within your organisation or for the network more broadly, then we could certainly talk about that if that would be of use.
I think that would be brilliant for the network generally. If we could maybe book you as a guest speaker fairly soon, that would be tremendous. Yeah, and then individual organisations might engage as well. Thank you. Thanks.
And I'm meeting, so with Ian's work around the Food Collective with Kelly Frisch, I'm meeting her next week to talk about, I'm going to support with the evaluation of that, and we'll probably use tools like that as part of that, I think. And I'd like, Tammy, if it's okay, to email you a bit of info about the piece of research I'm trying to do, looking at building up case studies of people who are facing particular barriers to food security, for you to send around the network, if that's okay, just if people are interested in being involved at all. That'd be helpful if that's okay to do that.
Yeah, absolutely brilliant. It can go out in the meeting, the email after this. That's absolutely
Thanks
fantastic.
very much, Tammy. That'd be great.
No, that's great. And just, following on from what you were saying about the event that I attended, what really, I went along thinking I was there with the Food is Fun hat on. And when you're sitting there mapping something, you realise actually how something that you think is really quite small has a huge impact because of the overlaps or where else it goes. And the fact that I'm very privileged because I sit and do this role as well, how those overlaps can happen and those connections feed into something, and a conversation can lead to something else. And there's no way of, up until now, of measuring that, and to be able to actually see, and it's really opened my eyes. I came away from that thinking, actually what I do is really important, and you don't tell yourself that ever. So I think all of you need to look at yourselves and go, do you know what? I may only be one little person, but actually what I do is huge, and I'm part of a network, and this network is part of this city, and this city does so much. So thanks, Rebecca. You're making it all come together. No pressure there, but
no, it is lovely. It's lovely for collectively looking at what's been achieved and seeing how all those little contributions come together into something that's really powerful. So yeah, I do think it's a really good tool.
That's great. Thank you. So we'll leave on a high and let everybody go. We have overrun very slightly, but thank you very much for attending. And there's lots of things in the chat that we will send out on the email as well. So we'll say lovely to see you all, and that the next meeting will be on the 18th of April, but it will be a hybrid meeting, so it will be in person, and you can join online. We'd love to see some of you in person. It'd be really nice to see the rest of you, apart from just your heads. So I'll get information as to where that's going to be, but it will be on the 18th of April at 10 o'clock, just for an hour or so. And obviously you can stay for longer, but using it as a bit of a network. We won't record that meeting because that's just going to be too difficult with the IT. But so, yeah, please do come along. So I'll turn the recording off now and say thank you to all those that have been watching.